Hello friends. In this footage we see a Russian attack helicopter K-52 Alligator chasing a Ukrainian Maya-type decoy drone. The interesting thing is that this chase took place over none other than Moscow. Maya drones are very low-cost units designed to amplify their radar signal to attract the attention of the horde's air defenses, which seems to be working quite well if we consider that the Russian helicopter cost $16 million, and it's wasting its time chasing what is essentially a PVC tube with wings. During the early morning of May 4th, the defenders launched a raid against the metropolitan area of Moscow, most likely to rehearse their participation in the victory parade on the 9th of this month, which seems like it will be very eventful because the Mortarites are already installing anti-drone nets over Red Square. We'll have our popcorn ready to watch the fireworks. Speaking of the May 4th incursion, a Ukrainian drone hit a tower belonging to the Mosfilms company just 6 kilometers from the Kremlin and 3.5 kilometers from the Ministry of Defense, Z. The Mosquito managed to get through 3 rings of the city's defenses, which consist of 10 S-400 missile batteries and more than 80 Panzer and Tor systems. But so that the Russophiles don't worry about their beloved master, Putin is taking every possible measure to protect his security. Changing the subject, a missile from a burning Z anti-aircraft system shoots out of its launcher and passes just a few meters from a couple of invaders who were recording the results of the attack. These two urgently need a change of underwear. Looks like there's nobody here. Oops, talk about picking the worst time to go out to work. An invader comes down from its nest just as a mosquito is watching. Well, we can safely say that this tourist will never make this mistake again. The Mosquito operators of the 429th Achilles Unmanned Systems Brigade spectacularly neutralize a rural truck belonging to the invaders in the settlement of Tavrovo, Belgorod Oblast. What's interesting about this action is that we have a record from a witness on the ground who filmed the whole sequence with his cell phone and also provided an emotional commentary, saying that he just got home by bus and a mosquito just got fried. And this is just the beginning. We continue with the trucks in Ivan's rear area, and in this case, a mosquito that was patrolling behind the front of the horde. Z came across a rural truck, which was maneuvering to facilitate the unloading of ammunition for the invaders, which, after the impact, was surely scattered for hundreds of meters around. But well, at least now the truck has already been unloaded.
Vamos.
But it's just too cool. The defenders of the Assault Regiment of the Lyud Brigade of the National Police of Ukraine are sending reconnaissance drones to scan the terrain and positions on the battlefield with high precision. This data is turned into 3D digital models of the area, which are used to create immersive virtual environments. These are then used by the soldiers of the unit with virtual reality goggles to rehearse their missions in exact replicas of the area. This allows them to prepare for each operation with a high degree of realism, reducing risk and improving the tactical effectiveness of the assault units. This practice is part of the Ukrainian adaptation of commercial technologies to improve training and situational awareness, which is used in multiple units, like the 7th Air Assault Corps and training centers, as preparation against drones, trench assaults, and infantry missions. Here we see how the assault unit carries out the mission in reality, now with full knowledge of the geography and layout of the buildings on the ground, which gives Ivan fewer opportunities to surprise the defenders. Yep, I have to say I'm impressed. On May 4, 2026, the 1st Azov Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine officially announced the transformation of its Pilum Battalion into the 41st Unmanned Systems Regiment. This is a significant expansion of drone warfare capabilities within the Corps, aiming to scale up its long-range attack operations, aerial reconnaissance, support for its own units on the front line, and disruption of enemy logistics in the Russian rear. The battalion currently has 500 personnel, so it is logical to assume that the unit will at least double in size, which is in line with the objectives set by the Ministry of Defense to neutralize at least 50,000 invaders per month, and to encourage as many combat actions at the front as possible to be carried out by robotic systems. Well, what do we have here? Well, nothing less than 4 invaders who have decided they've had enough excitement for a special military operation and that it was a good time to surrender to the defenders. But come on, let's look at this from the positive side. At least this cheerful group will be able to follow the orders of the supreme leader and reach Kiev in a few days. The invaders who live in the safety and prosperity of the West couldn't find anything better than to hold a king's parade. Don't worry, because the Ukrainian residents showed up in large numbers to set them straight. They displayed a sign that said Death Regiment and showed the attendees posters of the war crimes their people have committed. I don't get what they're doing in the decadent West. If they're such patriots, they should go back right now to their beloved Russian world. At least in Berlin, the use of Russian, Belarusian, and Soviet flags, as well as the Z and V symbols, St. George's ribbons, and the uniforms and insignias of the occupiers, has been banned on May 8th and 9th. Unfortunately, we'll probably see them in other European capitals. This video has a peculiarity. It's from 2025 on the Chasiv Yar front, where a column made up of 2 armored vehicles and an infantry platoon was preparing to launch an attack, which was detected by a reconnaissance drone, which called for an artillery fire mission while the infantry moved to take positions. The drone provided coordinates to adjust the 155mm high explosive fragmentation artillery fire. Finally, most of the infantry was neutralized or wounded, and one of the armored vehicles was destroyed. What was different about this attack was that several of the attackers were female prisoners who had their sentences commuted in exchange for serving on the front lines. We have seen the occasional woman taking part in the invasion, but this is the first time I have seen an entire group of them participating in an attack. If you want more content about the war in Ukraine, visit our 2 new channels for information in a different format. Don't forget to check them out. Remember to visit our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to a large number of uncensored videos and documentaries. Lastly, visit our store, where you can find items inspired by some of Ukraine's most outstanding units. Carry history with you, and with every purchase, you'll be supporting the United 24 program, which directly supports reconstruction programs, aid to the civilian population, and defense. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel